Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about and giving you a few tips and things that I do to help me read more. So just for context, I'm filming this when I'm actually in between jobs, but all of these tips are applicable to what I do when I am working a full-time job. So these are things that you can try and fit around your life, things that can help you make the most of the time that you've got to read. I will note though, I don't have kids, so obviously that means I've got more time than any of you that do have children, but I just want to assure you that these are things that I do alongside a full-time job. I am starting another full-time job soon, and as I said, I did all of these things when I was in my last job. So yeah, you don't have to be like a teenager or someone that works from home, because I don't work from home, or someone that is like a YouTuber for a living to do these things. The first one is audiobooks. I didn't listen to audiobooks for a really long time, but they help me read so much more. You can listen to audiobooks when you're driving, when you're on your commute, when you're doing other things around the house like cleaning and stuff like that. I will just pop an audiobook on whenever I'm doing something where I'm not like sat still, and it's just the best. It helps me read so many more books. Ignore anyone that tells you that audiobooks don't count as reading. They absolutely do. You are still intaking a story whether you're sat physically reading it or not. It absolutely does count. The only thing with audiobooks is, obviously your attention might wane in and out like a little bit. So maybe don't read an epic high fantasy on audio as your first audiobook. They are typically better for, you know, like rom-coms and things like that, where you don't have to pay as much attention. But I definitely listen to like YA fantasy. I even listened to the Crescent City series, which is really quite complex. I listened to all three of those on audio and I understood what was going on fine. So I'd say maybe for your first few audiobooks, go for more simple books, but then as long as you're used to kind of having to pay attention while you're doing other things, I think it's also fine to listen to more complex books on audio as well. The next one is using the Kindle app on your phone or iPad or whatever device you've got. You don't have to have a Kindle to read Kindle books. The Kindle app is free, and then you can either pay for a Kindle Unlimited subscription, which has got quite a lot of books on, or you can just individually buy the Kindle books. They are cheaper than physical books as well. And a lot of the time, Amazon will do sales where a lot of Kindle books will be like £1 or £2. The reason I think this can help you read more is if you're using it on your phone, it means that you don't have to carry a book out and about. So if you're like sat waiting for an appointment or something and you don't have anything to read with you, and maybe your appointment's a bit delayed or whatever, or you got there early, you can just sit and read on your phone instead of scrolling through social media. Obviously, if you want to scroll, you scroll, but if you do want to read when you're out and about, having the Kindle app on your phone is really good, because I know I don't always carry a physical book around with me. I don't always carry a handbag, so I don't have anywhere to put a physical book. So it is really handy when I'm just kind of sat around waiting places, or even like on your lunch break at work or something like that. Just having something there to read if you are in the mood to read at those times really helps. The next one is, it kind of seems a bit backwards, but DNF books. If you're not enjoying a book, DNF it. You don't have to finish it. And this sounds silly because we're trying to read more books, but if you're not enjoying a book, it's going to take you weeks to finish it probably. It does for me anyway. It can take me months to finish a book if I'm not enjoying it. So it's actually a lot easier to just DNF it or just put it down for that time being. You can always go back to it later and just read something else that you're actually in the mood for. Next one is something that I am always guilty of. I always think that in order to read, I have to spare like 2 whole hours to be able to sit down and read, and you actually just don't. If you've got 15 minutes and you're in the mood to read, read for 15 minutes. You don't have to do massive blocks of reading all of the time. You can read in smaller chunks. If your tea's in the oven and you've got 25 minutes to wait, sit and read for 25 minutes. Use those little bits of time that you've got. And obviously it is nice to be able to sit for hours and really get into a book, and it's nice when you're reading if you can do that a couple of times, but that doesn't have to be every time you read. You can just read bits in small chunks, and then maybe you could read a big bit like later in the day or the next day or whatever. You don't always have to sit down for hours at a time to be able to read a book. The next one is, if you are like, so I get in these moods where I'm like, I've got plenty of time to read and like I kind of want to read, but I'm also not in the mood to read, if that makes any sense. Like I kind of want to, but I'm also feeling a bit lazy, like I just want to sit and scroll on my phone. Something I do to get myself more in the mood, if I'm already like a bit in the mood to read, is I'll watch Booktube. I'll talk through a few of my favourite Booktubers in a minute, but I just find listening to other people talk about books or watching other people read really encourages me to do so. And this isn't me saying force yourself to read if you're not in the mood. If you want to watch TV, watch TV. Like, don't force yourself to read if you're not in the mood to do so. It will just make you resent it and probably dislike the book that you're reading. But if you are thinking, oh yeah, I kind of want to read, but I can't really be bothered, pop on some Booktube and it will just get you in the mood. A few of my favourite Booktubers, I think a few obvious ones that most people know about: Destiny Sidwell, Sarah Carole, Larry Reeds, Hayley Pham. I think they're quite like a bit, oh, and Steph Bora. Even though she's doing a bit more lifestyle now, she definitely does still talk about books. I think they're my 5 like most popular ones that everyone knows about and that I really love as well. And then a few smaller ones that I really enjoy. I don't know how to say her last name, but her name is Megan. I will put all of these linked down below anyway. I love Megan's videos. She's got a great sense of humour. Lauren Sidney, Lauren Gamble, Lauren's Reading Corner. She has different names on like all social medias, but again, I'll link her channel down below. She's friends with Sarah Carole. Again, she's got the best sense of humour. She's got like such a dry, witty sense of humour. She's really sarcastic, and that's like exactly my sense of humour. So I love her videos as well. And one of my like absolute favourites of all time that I think is so underrated is Ellen Catherine. I especially like her because she's British. I feel like most like really popular booktubers tend to be American, which is like fun. I love watching people from different places and stuff, but it's nice to have a British booktuber who I can like relate to a bit more. It's just nice, I think, to have someone at least from the same country as me, even though I think we're from like opposite ends of the country. But I really enjoy her videos. She's got a very similar reading taste to me. If I'm ever not 100% in the mood, I'll whack Booktube on and then suddenly I want to read like every book ever. And my last tip to help you read more is learn what kind of books you enjoy / what you're in the mood for. This absolutely doesn't mean that you should only read one genre. If you only like one genre, read one genre, but don't feel like you have to pen yourself in. What I mean by this is, and this is just kind of something that will take time, you can't necessarily speed up this process, but instead of kind of picking up random books that you're not sure that you'll enjoy and you're just kind of reading it on a whim, try and narrow down a bit what kind of books you enjoy and also what books you're in the mood for at different times. So I know, for example, around the winter time, I'm always in much more of a fantasy book mood. So I'm not going to force myself to pick up a rom-com now because I'm not in the mood for it. I'm much more in the mood to be reading fantasy. In the summer, that usually completely flips and I'm not in a fantasy mood, so I'm not going to force myself to read them. I'm going to read whatever I'm in the mood for at the time. Does that make sense? Basically, don't force yourself to read things, either DNF books, or just don't force yourself to read certain types of books because you feel like you have to. I used to try and force myself to read classics because I felt like I had to read classics to be a reader. You don't. If you enjoy classics, read them. If you don't, don't. Same with like Booktube books. Don't force yourself to read what's popular if you don't think you're going to enjoy it, or if you start reading it and don't enjoy it, just DNF. Don't force yourself to read things just because you feel like you have to. Narrow down what you actually enjoy, and it's absolutely amazing to try new things, don't get me wrong. Go into new genres, try different types of books, but particularly if you're struggling to read more, if you're in a little bit of a slump, stick to what you know for the time being, and then once you're kind of in the swing of it and in the routine of reading, then maybe that would be the time to branch out and try different things if you want to. But you don't ever have to branch out. If you want to read romance books for the rest of your life, do it. There's literally nothing wrong with that. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for reading whatever it is that you want to read. Read what you enjoy. So they are all my tips on how to read more. I feel like this is a really short video, but I didn't want to kind of repeat other things that I've heard. These aren't like, I'm not saying no one's ever said these, obviously they have. I wanted to think of things that I actually do in my day-to-day life that help me to read more around having a full-time job, and I also do own a house that I have to like clean and tidy and everything. So I have quite a busy schedule, but these things genuinely help. I tend to read between about 80 and 100 books a year. So these really do help me read quite a lot. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please do give it a thumbs up down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!